Should probably start. We get a few people coming through. So yeah, welcome everyone to Design Thinking London. Thanks for joining. Thank you, Mark. So Common Ground, where design thinking and service design interact. This is our event tonight. So if you think it's something else, you're probably in the wrong place. Design Thinking London, this is a place for design thinkers of any level to come together and share their practice, so we can learn from each other. Very keen to get new ideas, new people from all different backgrounds involved in our community, and it's very key for us to make it a safe place for people to come to. There's a team of us. Today I'm your host. I'm Jason. We've also got Luizella and Carmen and Anna, and we've been working behind the scenes to organize this event and other events over the course of the year, and still a few more events to come up before the end of the year's out. We do have social media, so if you would like to tweet or Insta or catch us on LinkedIn, you can do that at those addresses. We have a hashtag, which is DTLND. Sorry, I'll say that again, DTLDN. And you might also notice it's in the top right-hand corner of the slides. There's also a Slido for tonight's event. So this is a Q&A, and we'd love your questions. So if you want to pop on to slido.com and put in the number 10410, then you can add your own questions and upvote people's questions as well. So we've been running events, as I said. We'd usually, pre-COVID, we were running them in venues, in offices, in workspaces around London. I think one of the brilliant things about the positive about the pandemic has been we can actually have these events streamed globally around the world, and we know have people not just from London and the UK here tonight, so thanks for joining us. We hope to soon be able to have events again face to face where we can meet. And thanks to our sponsors, Zebra People, they help us out and give us support. And they're continuing to do that whilst we've moved online. So thanks to them. So if you are based in the UK, specifically in London and England, and you're looking for work, they are really good people who know the design industry, the research, UX, service design. And as I mentioned, this is a community. We're always looking for people to join in and share their thoughts, their practices. Really, really keen to hear from people working within their own practice, in their own industries. We know that the part of our membership is not just designers or researchers or people within that industry, but other change management and consultancies and that. So yeah, really keen to hear from you. It doesn't matter what level you are. If you want an opportunity to come and speak, it'd be great to hear from you. You can get in touch with us on any of the social media, or you can email us, or message myself, Carmen, or Lou on Meetup as well. In fact, one of our community members has asked to give a shout out to an event they're doing as well. So there's Service Jam, Jean Mutton, who's been organising an education jam coming up in September. So if you're interested in that, get in touch with Jean as well. But if you'd like to speak at one of our events, get in touch. So tonight, just giving a brief introduction of Design Thinking London, which we're kind of doing. We're going to have a quick little breakout. We're going to put everyone in a breakout room. That's the word I'm looking for. And give an opportunity to have a little meet and greet with some of the people in the community here. You can have a chat. It'd be good to understand, yeah. And then we're going to go into Mark's Q&A, and then we're going to have a wrap up. So just some housekeeping beforehand. yeah, if you haven't already, it'd be good for you to add your Zoom name to your avatar so everyone knows who you are. It'll help if we need to, if you want to ask a question as well, we know how to address you. Please mute yourself while people are talking. You can raise your hand in Zoom if you need to ask a question. And then I'll remember to unmute. I'm guilty of that sometimes. And you can use the chat to ask questions or the Slido. It'd be great with the Slido because you can upvote other people's questions as well. So we can get the most burning questions there for Mark. And when we put you into the breakout rooms, it'd be nice if you could put on your camera. So as you're in that breakout room, you can see who you're talking to and get to meet someone new. So the other thing we'd like to address that, you know, we are trying to create a safe space where people feel comfortable sharing their opinions, and let's have an objective and constructive discussions today. Yeah, be curious. Everyone has different opinions and angles. You know, it's not always about seeking truth, but understanding, and give everyone a voice to speak and air their opinions. Yeah, that'd be great. So that's the housekeeping done. Oh, so it sounds like you all had really good conversations. It's hard to get you all back. It's good. It's good. So I hope we've got some good questions. I've seen some questions being voted up and a few more added in Slido. So I've shared there's a link direct to Slido if you want to add any more questions as the discussion goes on, and please upvote other ones. You can also add questions in Zoom, but yeah, complicate things. But let's kick off. I'm just thinking I might share a Slido screen here. So Mark, thanks very much for your time.
Sure.
And actually, one thing I haven't done, which is a bit remiss of me, I haven't actually given anyone a bit more of a background of who you are. So for those who haven't come across Mark before, he's the founder and the host of the Service Design Show, a great YouTube channel where he interviews practitioners and shares his own thoughts on service design. And he started one of the first service design agencies in the Netherlands in 2007, and also has set up a venture around service design job as well, which I think is probably doing very well in this current climate. And I really like the fact that your focus around the service design show is this, you know, creating that synergy where you know, the heart of business, the people are at the heart of business. And yeah, so I think that if we look at the slide, the first question here is, what do you think is the main difference between systems design, service design, design thinking? It was an anonymous question. I don't know if anyone's there who wanted to ask it or add a bit more context to it.
I think I can give a first stab at this one. Thanks for all for being here on this, at least in the Netherlands, a very hot summer evening. So yeah, what's the difference between systems design, service design, and design thinking? I'll skip systems design for a second and focus on service design and design thinking. And basically, the second question on the slide almost answers it for me. Design thinking isn't a practice. Design thinking is a mindset, is an approach, is an attitude. And service design is the application of the design methodologies, the design thinking onto service-related challenges. So, yeah, with regards to the second question, isn't these service design thinking in action? Yes, absolutely. And we can make that even more specific it's design thinking in action onto service related challenges. And to add one more thing to that, if we look at the world around us and at the organizations around us, every business is a service business these days. So basically, when you're working on an organizational or business challenge, you're most likely working on a service challenge, which means that if you're applying design, that you're most likely practicing service design. That's my take on it. And there is a video on that if you want to see more.
Good video too. Interesting though that you know, the questions come up because it feels like design thinking has become a profession. Do you think any reasons why? Do you think that?
I think design thinking has become a profession because some really smart people were able to package it really well and provide it in a really attractive proposal. But the word design thinking already says it. It's a thinking, and I think a very big part of design is the actual doing part. So for me, when you merge thinking and doing, you actually just have design, and then adding the thinking part doesn't really add a lot of value. But
thank you. Lou, is Lou on the call? Do you want to
I'm not
ask
sure.
your question?
Me.
Yeah, that would be it.
So yeah, my question was, how would you embed design thinking and or service design in organizations? And is there any difference between embedding one or the other?
Yeah, we can talk the rest of the evening about embedding design thinking and service design. I'm going to give the boring answer. It depends. What I can say with regards to design thinking is I think, you know, it's good when a lot of people get in touch with a design mindset or creative problem solving or the things that make design so interesting. So I wouldn't say design thinking is about embedding it as much as about spreading it, creating awareness. And there's not, it's that. And with regards to service design, I don't think anyone has cracked the code yet on how to actually do this in a uniform way. Embedding service design is really a matter of almost flipping an organization around from where your service or product is the thing that everybody rallies around into your customer is the thing where everybody rallies around, and service design as a way to keep improving how you deliver the service, which value you create. So I'm actually running what I call campfire sessions, which are basically virtual retreats for people who are working specifically in-house within organizations and have a service design role. And we're discussing the challenges there on how to actually do this. And what I can say from these campfire sessions is that it's a struggle. Everybody's just trying to figure it out. So
can I say something? Mark, I was thinking when you were saying this, connecting with something you said earlier, because, you know, I'm usually more on the side of product than on the side where design thinking lives. And one of the things I always feel is that the thinking and the doing are not connected. And that to me is somehow why this connection is making that issue. And I don't know the answer, but how can you connect the thinking and the doing?
Well, how can you connect the thinking and the doing? My question would be, what is causing it not to be connected? I think from my observations is that it's actually, you actually have to make time to practice design, to do design, you have to have the resources. And the way a lot of design thinking is sold is that you do a few workshops and you do a training, and then you're sort of a design thinker, and then you go back to doing your regular job, and that doesn't actually give you the room or the expectation to apply these methods and tools. So yeah, having the room, having the responsibility, having the accountability to do the thinking, that helps for sure.
Thank you.
I just noticed Joel had added a question, which I think stems from this discussion. Joel, did you want to ask it, or?
Sure.
It's more of a comment on the earlier question that was meant to sort of add to the discussion. I don't have any more to add to that question. If there's anyone who'd like to take a stab at that, you're welcome to do so.
Yeah, so embedding design is a design problem in itself, and or a design challenge in itself, and I would totally agree with that. Yeah, we can we should approach it with our design mindset, attitude, and tool set. I totally agree.
I think one of the things I've experienced in my career working within different organizations is that belief of design as a tool. It always seems that design is part of an organization, but how it's implemented and how it fits within the organization varies on the maturity of the belief of the senior leadership team that design can actually impact and deliver. And I'm not sure what you've seen, how you've seen that, how we embed it, how we work to do that. It feels like it's the constant thing that just keeps on coming up for me. It's not something that design is not taught in business school.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet,
Yeah.
because I think Harvard Business Review, they've been talking about this for a while to get in MBA's design thinking.
I want to say something about it because I'm a marketing professor and I teach service design in MBA and master in marketing. And I think service designs offer us as business people a method, a way to interact with the whole company around problems and work together to fix or find a solution. And I think I teach my students to look for a designer who help them to guide the process. But we as a marketing people can start from the market, the brand, and the whole company to deliver value to the customers. And I think we are starting to learn service design as a method to put it together and work together as a system. And I think it's very valuable.
Makes sense. Yeah, very good. I think service design is a collaborative practice, and we need, one of the discussions I often have with people is, can you actually be a service designer? And there's a paradox in that question. I think nobody can be a service designer by themselves. You can be part of a service design team, or you can be working in the field of service design. So I strongly believe in that. Anyone from any background can be part of a service design team. So yeah.
Cool. So I have lost my track of my questions, and I'm just having a look at that. So one was, will tonight's event be recorded and made available later? That is a yes. We've answered, do you see design thinking as a distinctive role or skill set? Yeah, actually, you've just touched on this. How do you see the difference between designing a service versus service design?
Yeah, I do have a take on that. I think it's really hard in reality to design a service in the same sense in the same way we can design products, especially when the service gets more complex. If you're a local bakery shop, then you might think you could design a service from scratch and work, control all the touch points and the entire journey. But as soon as the organization gets a bit more complex, there are so many moving parts that it's actually really hard to design the service. What I believe happens in reality is we can design for services. So I think a large part of our work is around creating the context and environment where services emerge and play out. So I have a video where I take music analogy, and when you think about a concert hall, there are a lot of things you can control in the environment, like how's the lighting, how's the seating, how's the bar working. You cannot control how the actual act and experience will be for the people in the audience at that moment. And I think a lot of services are the same. So we can do the best we can to design for the performance and then hope that the actual act will be the thing we want to be.
Great. There are a couple of messages and questions in the chat. Actually, a couple of people say that there are some schools that teaches design thinking and service design. It's really good to hear. There are a few courses as well, and one that caught my eye is a secondary school actually that does the in their education program has design thinking, which is quite good because is actually quite nice to see it, not just at master's level, but also at kind of lower level.
I hope that they will also start teaching design doing.
Excellent. The next question we have on Slido is, what sector did service design originate in, and has it developed into different sectors?
I don't know what the I don't know if it actually developed in one sector. When I started in service design back in 2006, most of the things I learned were from the UK, and the public sector was quite active at that time with regards to service design. But from there, it has migrated into, I would say, all bits and pieces of society. And the thing that you see these days is that there are some differences in the acceptance of service design within certain countries in certain sectors. So in some countries, it's like the commercial sector who is really fond of service design, the banks and insurance companies, while in other countries, it's more of the public services who are more attracted to this. But I think by now I've seen service design being applied in every type of business market. Yeah.
Yeah, it's certainly. Have you seen an impact as part of your role within the sort of service design jobs? Is it being reflected in that as well? Are you seeing an uptick in the amount of roles advertised? And
yeah, I would say it's too early to say. We started service design jobs back in March, and there was the time Corona hit the world, so the number of job applications went down anyway. What I'm seeing at the jobs that are being posted is that the most unexpected companies, organizations are looking for service design related people. So yeah, if you're curious, just go to servicedesignjobs.com, just scroll through the list, and yeah, service design is literally everywhere these days. Sometimes it has a different name, but it's everywhere.
Do you think, again, is this a marketing ploy, or it's become the buzz now that companies and product or is it become the trend? I mean, I always found when I started, it was, you know, interaction designer, UX, user experience, and now I suppose there is that evolution, but it's become that bit of a buzz as well.
Could be. I've seen different buzzes in service design coming and going over the last decade. But for me, service design it will never go away. It's not a hype or a trend, and there's a really simple reason for this. I don't know if anybody knows the model of progression of economic value. It's described by Joe Pine, I think, in his book of the Experience Economy. And that model really clearly describes how our economies are made up. We have commodities that get turned into products. Products get turned into, I think goods is the thing between. Products become services. Services become experiences. So that's the logic I follow. Like services are a key fundamental part of our economy. They are evolving into experiences, but we're not there yet. So the design of services is, it's like part of the economy. It's different than a craft like visual design or user experience design. At least that's my mental model that I follow here.
Cool. Thanks, Mark. If anyone has any questions, please do put your hand up, or you want to ask something direct to Mark. That would be cool. So we have one on slide here. So have any of you found a model of design thinking from a governance point of view? How exact level sponsorship of design embedded into the operational model?
Not me.
No. There we go. Excellent. Alison, do you want to ask your question?
Hi, yeah. Sorry, I still can't get my video to work. Apologies. So I was just curious again about the sector, and there's talk about, I don't know where everyone else on the call is from, but I work in the third sector in international development, and I have seen a lot of local, national and international NGOs increasingly employing design thinkers, but it's quite a novel thing in the sector. And I don't know how much of that is around funding models and who we put at the center of the experience. And I am a little bit new to service design, so I might not formulate this question properly. But in terms of international development, obviously a lot of our funding comes from big donors, and it's typically around keeping them happy, which is paradoxical to our mission, which is all about serving people. But in terms of how we do that, we tend to follow the money inevitably. So I'm just curious about service design in the third sector, where your income essentially doesn't come from keeping your clients happy, even though that is essentially your mission. You have to keep your donors happy, and so it's a difficult position to be in, and that's not really a question, but I just wondered if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah. So I've been in a lot of projects where let's say the end user or the end consumer wasn't the person who was paying the bill, and it's really hard to manage those those stakes. Eventually sort of have to find a way to make a link between the goals of the people who are funding these ventures and the people who are at the receiving end of the service. If there isn't a connection between those two, if the goals of the people funding it and the people who are receiving the service, then then that's a very tough. Then you can only be designing for the people probably who invest the money.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's always tricky when the end user isn't the one paying. There's a very, very tricky situation. Carmen had a question. I don't know if you want to ask. On Slido, there was Do you want to read it out, Carmen? You can follow up.
Sorry, I was looking for, because I did ask a few questions. So it was, my question was, one of them was about, I sometimes notice that service designers and design thinkers, which we share quite a lot of practice, I would say, somehow sometimes there's a little bit of a divide, a little bit of a conflict. Why do you think that is?
What is which conflict do you see? Or do you
Almost
experience?
almost like if we were different, if we were not the same, or I don't know, I cannot work it out actually. I feel it, you know, I kind of see the reactions, or like, but I cannot specifically tell you. I know there is some sort of like divide between the two, but I have read comments as well sometimes on service design forums towards design thinking. I don't know if it's because of the buzz that design thinking brought a few years ago and maybe didn't deliver on that promise. Is it because of that? Or I don't know, maybe
I don't know. Which comments are you getting? Yeah. What is the tension that you see?
Yeah, I don't know. I have definitely seen it. There is some element of tension, but maybe you haven't experienced it.
I can only guess. And I can only, well, speak from my own experience. I think the people who are or have been in service design for a bit longer, what's less attractive and what's less appealing is maybe the notion that has been brought up in the last few years that this is something that you can learn or do in a few days. So that popularized idea of design sprints going through a few days of a workshop and that will solve all your problems. I think for me personally, that's doing more harm to our field than it's actually doing good in the long term. So maybe that's the thing. I wouldn't say it's service designers versus design thinkers, but maybe that's the thing that's bothering people who have been in the field practicing it for a bit longer.
Well, it bothers me, definitely. I consider myself more of a design thinker, and it bothers me the fact that people think that you can do something in 1 week, like, and define the whole product and the whole service strategy in 1 week.
Yeah, but we have to be honest. We have created this, right? It's our. We can only blame ourselves for creating that image.
Cool. There's a couple here. Jason had a question and Elaine had one. I don't know if you want to, or Elaine had two actually. I don't know if Jason or Elaine want to ask their question. Perhaps Elaine first. If you were happy to ask it, or I can ask it on your behalf.
Don't forget to unmute yourself.
Well, I'd like to ask when you first heard or learned about service design, is the first question you ask on your own program. And since you're living in, or you're from the Netherlands, what do you think about the donut economics, and how do you think that's related with service design and designing for well-being?
So the first question is, when did I learn about service design? And the second question is about what is the relationship between service design and the economics in the Netherlands?
The Donut Economics by Katie Rayworth.
No, doesn't ring a bell. So I can't comment on that one. Not yet.
Okay, I'll send that to you later because it's a big thing in Amsterdam. Where do you live in the Netherlands?
Close to Amsterdam. Everybody lives close to Amsterdam in the Netherlands.
Okay.
Yeah, but send it over.
You can comment about positive impact that service design can create in our lives.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So let's start with that one because that's a more interesting question than rather than me talking about when I met service design. But recently I rebranded or gave the service design show a more appropriate title, which is Make Business Human. And I think that's one of the most powerful things service design can contribute to our society, is making not just businesses, but everything around us more human. Which also, by the way, means more human, means a better, a more human, a more planet-centered way, but that's a side note. So I think what service design brings and what design brings to the equation is creating solutions that are less frustrating, that take less energy, less effort, are more enjoyable to use, bring a smile to our faces. So I think that's for me, in the end, the promise of design and service design.
Thanks, Mark. Jason, did you want to ask your question?
Yeah, it might relate to I think some of the stuff that Carmen was saying. It's just around, and I guess there's two ways of thinking about it. One thing, which is the natural tendencies of some designers, which gets packaged up in the notion of design thinking, versus the design thinking package that people maybe sell and create simplistic courses of. But I wondered really around that, whether you know, you can do service design, practice service design without the packaged design thinking type stuff, the stuff that's done in the training courses. So one view of design thinking, but also in the other way, without any of the typical kind of design process, design mindset things, whether you call that design thinking as a package or not. So I guess there's a two-part question for both meanings of the phrase design thinking. That makes sense?
So what's the question?
Can you do the service design about design thinking?
That wouldn't make sense to me, I think. And then we have to go into what design thinking is. But when design thinking is the way we approach challenges, the way we think about how to come to solutions, how to find the right questions, then the values of design thinking, I think those are an inherent part of the design approach, the design process. So design thinking is design doing, should be. And the other question was the other way around, right?
More the kind of, I guess it's really the root of, can you do design thinking, service design, by just practicing the sort of design thinking set of kind of playbook of workshop techniques and approaches, if that's what some people see.
And I think that's the thing that sort of gets people caught people by surprise, that when they look at service design projects, they don't look at the design thinking playbook things they've seen at all. Most of them, like our projects, you'd have to do your best to find a design thinking pattern in them. But all of those projects, you could find human-centeredness, you could find co-creation, you could find prototyping, you could find a lot of visual ways of working. So the values of design were in every project, but we didn't follow a playbook, step-by-step plan.
Cool. Has anyone got any other questions they would like to ask? An opportunity to open it to the floor. Because we're fast approaching our time as well with Mark.
Yeah, so maybe there's one thing I can share with the group here, and that is, like I already mentioned, I started an experimental prototype to host campfire sessions, which I see almost as a virtual retreat sessions for people working in-house as service designers. The first round is now happening, and it's with a small group. We're with 8 to 9 people. All of them work in-house, and we get together once every week to share stories. So I'll probably be doing the next round somewhere at the end of September. And anybody's interested in participating, let me know. There will be an application process as there were the first time, but yeah, we just want to create a safe space for in-house service designers to share their struggles and share their victories.
Much appreciated. I'm one of them, so much appreciated that. Lots of struggles, actually.
Yeah, that's the common theme.
Excellent. I don't know if we kind of hit our time. I don't know if people want to stick around for another 5-10 minutes. I don't know if Mark, if you're
I'd be happy to stick around as long as there are questions. Sure.
Yeah. There were a few more in Slido that I've just been scrolling through. So let me just get one up that I thought was quite good. So what are the opportunities and challenges of pooling different innovation approaches, such as human-centered design and behavioral insight?
That's quite a broad question, but
what are... I'm afraid.
Sorry?
I was hoping there would be someone's name to it, so I don't know if anyone who asked that would like to, if they're still here.
It was me again, Alison. I have to go and put the kids to bed in a minute, but I would love to hear your thoughts. Yeah, I was, again, as a non-expert in any of these things, but my understanding, initially I got interested in behavioral insights and have used them in some of the projects I've worked in, but they obviously refer to a very unique decision point within the service journey, the operations of people going about their business, looking to impact a very specific point, whereas the design thinking service design is obviously much bigger, thinking and taking the whole systems approach. So it seems like there's a complementarity where I would imagine they could work very well together, but I haven't really seen that happen anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right that there aren't many documented examples of things like behavioral economics or anthropology or business innovation methods, but I think they make a very good partnership within the service design process. So there was recently an interview with, I don't know, I think it's 2 or 3 interviews ago, where we talked about on the service design show, adopting innovation methods that were developed in the 1960s about quality and manufacturing, and seeing that how it can be applied in the design process. And there are still a lot we can learn. So, and especially when it comes to insights and behavior, that fits really well into the design process.
Thank you.
Another anonymous question. So if you're here and you want to add any context to it, how do you feel inclusive design should, could, or may best fuel design thinking?
Inclusive design, yeah.
Sorry, that was myself, Christine.
Hi, Christine.
Hey, how are you? Yeah, it's really that kind of the experience more at the edges as opposed to the center of the user group. And how do you think that should be brought into the design thinking, particularly in that insight phase, and where in it, and how could it best fuel the design outcomes?
So a tendency I've seen with a lot of service designers is that they still, it's really hard to empathize with a group where you're not part of. We're doing our best, we're doing field research, but we have our tools and methodologies, but it's still really hard to deeply empathize with the other groups. The best way I've seen this used is actually making somebody who is part of that group, part of the design team, and a member of that team, and involve them in the process, and making them your guide in the journey. So I don't know if that completely answers your question, but that was my first hunch.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's really valuable to, as much as possible, get someone in the design team. It's not for all communities easy to do so. So there's, I think, additional layers that can be helpful, but that's a really good starting point.
Yeah, yeah. And I agree that it's sometimes hard, but yeah, often it's worth the effort if you can.
Thanks.
Brilliant, thank you. Thanks for asking all these questions. So, oh, I had it and I lost it. Here it is. So this one's from Keanu. I don't know if Keanu's still here, but how does exploring design thinking methodology allow people to understand the complexities of resolving issues within service design?
And complex questions. So how does design thinking help people to
understand the complexities of resolving issues within service design, sorry.
I'm not sure. I don't get the question.
Yeah. I'm not, we can skip that one. That's fine. How are we going for time? Is there anything else anyone wants to, any other questions? Otherwise, we might thank you and thank everyone for coming. And you can go and have cold showers and cool down in this crazy heat we're all experiencing.
Well, beers. Yeah.
Beers would be good. Monday night beers. Wow. School night.
Why not?
Yeah. Summertime. So I'd like to thank Mark.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for the invitation. Yeah,
it's been wonderful. Thank you all for coming along and giving us your questions as well. Please give us feedback. This is the first time we've run one of these Q&A sessions. Mark suggested it, and I think it's gone pretty well actually. But we'd like to, that's our perspective. We want to hear your perspective. So feedback is really good, so we can improve. It'd be good to hear how Slido worked for you all and everything like that. So please do feedback to us. We're going to potentially take a break in September, but in October, November, we'll be running some events around content design, mixed method research, quant qual, and potentially something around product as well. And visualization is another topic we're looking at as well. So please do stay tuned on the meetup.com. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a great night.